Welcome to Cadenza, the place for alternative rock bands.
We have a very special guest in studio. We have Corey Harper and Tony Oni in studio. Award-winning saxophonist, composer, and educator Alex On. So, according to your Twitter, you like guacamole and hate the dentist. Can you tell us more about that?
Now, here's your host, Catherine Barner.
Hello and welcome to Cadenza. I'm your host, Catherine Barner. If you're new here, I interview some of the smallest indie musicians as well as #1 Billboard charting artists like Milky Chance. In college, I hosted Cadenza at our radio station, but now that I've graduated, I want to continue bringing you musician interviews as well as just talking about music. So whether you want to call this a vlog, a video podcast, or just a plain old podcast, here's my new set and I hope you enjoy. Wow, okay, let's start off with Tool. So they're now streaming, if you didn't hear. It's kind of a big deal because they've been super anti-streaming for the longest time. It's crazy. I don't know if people expected this to happen or what their thought behind this was, but alongside the announcement of them now streaming last Thursday, they also announced a new album that will be coming out. And the album will be coming out August 30th, and it'll be called Fear and Kill 'Em. So probably that's the reason why they started streaming, is they're releasing a new album and they want to make sure people hear it. So it's pretty exciting. In a statement, their frontman Maynard James Keenan wrote, "Our obsession with and dream of a world where Betamax and Laserdiscs rule has ended. Time for us to move on, but never fear, there's a brand new thing we think you're really gonna dig. It's called digital downloads and streaming. Get ready for the future, folks." But on top of the streaming and on top of the new album, the last time they released a new album was in 2006 with 10,000 Days, which was 13 years ago. Crazy. People are very excited for that. And in a podcast with Joe Rogan, Keenan explained, "The four of us are a lot of work just to get anywhere. Everything's a committee meeting and it always gets shut down." Kind of sounds like our government. In the 4 days that they've been streaming, the band has collected almost 1.8 million monthly listeners on Spotify, as well as millions and millions of streams collectively. That's pretty crazy for the past 4 days, and I hope them as a band are excited that these many people are listening to them, because I feel like the best reason about streaming is people who maybe aren't the hugest fans will listen and have the opportunity to listen. Before this, I don't own any Tool albums, so obviously I only heard it from people, their music from people who own those albums, who were Tool heads, but it's really exciting being able to listen to them as someone who appreciates rock and also appreciates prog rock. But speaking of prog rock, if you're not a prog rock listener like I am, I have a few suggestions for you to make listening to this type of music a little bit easier. Prog rock was invented in the United Kingdom in the 1960s, and a lot of the same techniques used in prog rock are also used in jazz music, which includes time changes, key signature changes, and is just a little bit more technically advanced. Since this music is a little bit more technically advanced, I have a few suggestions for maybe people who want to give Tool a try but don't know really where to start. So the first song I suggest people to listen to is The Pot, which is right now number 4 on their most popular on Spotify. I really like this song because there's a really easy kind of melody to follow, as well as a really good guitar riff that's pretty consistent throughout the song. That's one thing that usually isn't the case for prog rock, is consistency of a riff per se that a guitar is playing. So I think that's a really good starting point for people who want to listen to Tool but really haven't done it before. And then after listening to The Pot, I highly suggest listening to 46 and 2. And I really like this song to listen to second because it kind of brings more of those prog rock elements into what they're playing. So in this song, there's a lot of different key signature changes. And for those of you who aren't musicians, a key signature is kind of where you feel that lying beat in the song. So for example, Mumford & Son. They're very stomp rocky, so you hear 1, 2, 3, 4. So that stays pretty consistent and pretty much always stays 1, 2, 3, and 4. So for prog rock, the signatures I've noticed in 46 and 2 that stays pretty consistent, but also definitely changes a lot because it is prog rock and changes quite frequently. You have 2 bars of 7/8 and then 1 bar of 2/8. So with the 2 bars of 7/8 and the 1 bar of 2/8, that stays pretty consistent, but obviously changes. So you have 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2. So that's kind of the beat the guitar riff is sticking with. Personally, I love 7/8, so that's probably why I really like this song. I just love the feeling of the 1 2 1 2 1 2 3, because you have those quick, quick, slow, quick, quick, slow, quick, quick kind of thing. So I highly suggest listening to that song second. So if you're new to Tool, new to prog rock, I highly recommend those 2 songs to start. And then after that, just kind of dive in and see what you like. Maybe listen to the other songs that are their top songs on Spotify or top songs on whatever listening platform that you listen on. Next, I want to talk about a song that came out on July 19th, and I am in love with this song because if you know me, if you know the music I like, if you know the artists I interview, I love myself rock music, and I love myself some psychedelic music. So on July 19th, Joe Carey, who plays Steve Harrington in Stranger Things, released a really awesome psychedelic song. Well, this isn't the first time Joe has done anything with music. Before he was actually in Stranger Things, he was in a band called Post Animal, and he played guitar on their album Post Animal Performs the Most Curious Water Activities. And this was before Joe was casted in Stranger Things and made his first appearance. According to the band's Spotify bio, Joe no longer tours with the band. Now, on July 19th, he released the song Roddy, and I am in love with this song. To me, it sounds like an extension of Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino by the Arctic Monkeys. So if you haven't listened to Tranquility Base by the Arctic Monkeys, the big key factor of that album is the keys. Lots of vamping, lots of chords, lots of arpeggios, and that's exactly what we hear in Roddy. So that's what it kind of reminds me of. So a key factor on top of the vamping keys in Roddy is there's lots of arpeggios. And a great example of an arpeggio is the Stranger Things theme song. So let me play it for you here on my keyboard on my phone. So it's basically taking a scale and playing the 1, the 3, the 5 of that song. But in this specific arpeggio, it's the 1, the 3, the 5, the 7, and then the 1, and then reverse. So I was listening to Roddy and I was like, this sounds a little familiar. So when I was listening to the song, I noticed that the arpeggio that Joe is using in Roddy is very, very similar to the one in Stranger Things. So my theory behind his song is he took the Stranger Things theme song and he broke it down and made it into a psychedelic rock song. That's my theory. I have no idea if that's actually accurate. Joe, if you're watching this, I'd love to know if that's true. That's going to conclude it today for today's video podcast. I hope you enjoyed. This is the first time I've really sat down and talked directly to a camera. I'm used to talking just into a microphone, so if I'm awkward looking in the viewfinder too much, I'm trying really hard, and hopefully I'll get better with it with time. So let me know your opinions of what you thought about what I talked about today down in the comment section below, and tell me what you think about the music I've suggested you to listen to. Also, if you haven't heard my latest interview with Blake Braley, make sure to go check that out. Here's a snippet of that now. So when did you start playing the originals live?
We kind of started working them in about a year and a half after we started playing at Zola, the cover thing.
Yeah.
We'd test them out there, and if people dig them, we'd be like, okay, cool. And if something wasn't working, we'd be like, okay, back to the drawing board, kind of a thing.
Could you give us a situation of where something didn't quite work out for you guys?
Yeah.